Hello and welcome to 529 Day 2026. I'm your host, Paul Curley, Executive Director at ISS Market Intelligence, where I oversee data, research, events, and thought leadership for 529s and able accounts. I'm joined here today with Trisha Good, Executive Director with Ohio 529 CollegeAdvantage. For today's agenda, we're going to hit three different things. So we're going to do 529 reminders, tips, and best practices by Ohio 529 CollegeAdvantage. We'll then transition over to 529 data insights and analytics research. We'll have questions and answers at the end. In the enrollment form, we definitely saw a lot of questions and answers, so we'll try to take questions throughout today's session. We also have a few folks from Ohio Tuition Trust Authority that are on the chat line as well, so they'll be answering questions throughout today's sessions. That is one of the reasons why we like to do live events, so feel free to drop in the questions. We'll answer the questions throughout, but also between each section. And at the end, for 15 minutes, we'll do a question and answer section at the end as well. There's the chat functionality, so all users can see the chat functionality. For today's session, for the questions and answer, it will be only read by the speakers here today, ISS Market Intelligence and 529 Ohio 529 CollegeAdvantage. This will be recorded and available live after. And at the end of the session, there will be a brief survey for feedback. As a quick jump-in point for the 529 webinar series, the goal for the webinar series is really threefold. One is to share and learn best practices, but also to support the 529 community, those that are deeply involved within the space, but also broadly speaking to share awareness, understanding, and prioritization of 529s and education financial planning. We do have many families across the nation in Ohio on today's call, but for those that are more on the institutional side of today's discussion, that there is a 529 conference that we do hold in September 23rd to 25th. It is at the JW Nashville, which is a great venue, and 529conference.com is the website to find out more. That being said, Cleveland is a great place because it is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, and of course in Nashville there is the a different Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame. So definitely looking to having the event in Ohio in the future. But in the meantime, 529conference.com for more information. But without further ado, Ohio 529 CollegeAdvantage, and over to you, Trisha.
Great. Thanks so much, Paul. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time frame. And happy 529 Day. We're so excited to be able to celebrate 529 on May 29th. So we'll go ahead and get started with some general 529 information. As you all know, higher education isn't just a great idea, it's a really smart financial move. You can see on the chart on your screen that a high school graduate can average about $48,000 per year. If you get a 2-year associate's degree, that would bump up to maybe an average around $57,000 per year. And a 4-year college grad on average could be at $80,000 a year or more. So we all know that college and continuing education is a really smart financial move. The other thing that's a really smart move is, trying to save in advance and not borrow money. We know that student loan debt is something like $1.7 trillion. So it's a ridiculous amount. And we like to promote any time somebody could save in advance rather than borrowing money is a smart financial move. Next page, please. And so why is it a smart move? It really comes down to the compounding power of tax-free growth. You can see in this analysis that we have, if you save in a traditional taxable savings account, you may be able to save over an 18-year period, $68,000. If you're just putting in $200 a month. But if you do that in a tax-advantaged, tax-free 529 account, you could save an additional $12,000, which is a really meaningful amount when you're talking about higher education type cost. Next slide, please. So, what are 529s? Hopefully, a lot of people on the call know what a 529 plan is, but they were really created back in, I believe it was 1996, to make college more affordable. They were named after Section 529 of the Internal Revenue Code, and they allow both states or other qualified educational institutions to offer 529 plans. Next slide, please. So, what are the benefits of a 529 plan? Really simply put, it's taxes. It's tax free, earnings grow tax free. Withdrawals or distributions, when you take them out, are tax free when used for qualified expenses. And it's a large laundry list of growing qualified expenses that I'll cover shortly. And then you should check with your own state for your tax deduction. In Ohio, we offer up to a $4,000 Ohio tax deduction. And I think we'll get into a little bit more in specifics in a future slide. There we go. So there's our future slide. So the state of Ohio tax deduction, we offer up to $4,000 tax deduction per year per beneficiary with an unlimited carry forward. The deduction is for any state of Ohio resident that is filing a state of Ohio tax deduction. In Ohio, it's regardless of your 529 plan of choice. We like to encourage people to open an Ohio 529 plan, but let's be honest, there are a lot of 529 plans out there. All are very worthy, and we just really encourage people to save. The other thing I will say about the Ohio plan is the $4,000 is not a ceiling, or it is not the maximum you can put in. There's an unlimited carry forward each year, so you can put in $10,000 a year, take 4 off this year, 4 off next year, and 2 the following year. So it's a very flexible benefit. Next slide, please. So, what are 529s? They were really created to make college more affordable. You can pick from any plan in the country. All 49 states, with the exception of, I believe it is Wyoming, have 529 plan. Each state is responsible for determining the kind of plans they offer and how they are structured. Many states have variable savings plans out there that are based mostly on mutual funds. A few states have savings and CD options. And then there are a handful of states that offer what is known as a prepaid tuition program that is generally pegged to public tuition in their state. They're all a little bit different. So if you're interested in learning more about prepaid tuition programs, I would check with your home state and see what is available, and then you can go from there. Next slide, please. So what can the 529 plans be used for? So it's a wide variety of items. You can use them at community colleges, traditional colleges and universities, including historically Black colleges and universities, undergraduate, graduate programs, technical or trade schools, certificate and credentialing programs, and apprenticeship programs. They can be used in state or out of state. There generally is no border to be able to use 529 plans. Next slide, please. So I talked a little bit earlier about qualified expenses. So what are qualified expenses for a 529 plan? Generally, this list is for all states across the nation, but please check with your state of choice to make sure that these are really qualified within your state as well. So I mentioned higher education. So in the higher education category, it's available for things like tuition, required fees, books, computers and related equipment and services, and room and board. For K through 12 expenses, this was added in the last few years. It is available to use for up to $20,000 annually for private K through 12 expenses, educational expenses. So that's curriculum, books, instructional materials, online educational materials, qualified tuition for tutoring and educational classes outside of the home. Fees for certain nationally standardized achievement tests are also included now. So think AP classes, ACT, SAT fees, Fees for dual enrollment, if it applies in your state. Again, check with your particular state to see if there is a fee for dual enrollment. And then there also it includes certain educational therapies for students with disabilities. There's several other things that are qualified. Apprenticeship programs and credentialing programs are now qualified expenses, and that is tuition, fees, books, supplies, required equipment, and required fees to obtain or maintain continuing education for recognized post-secondary credentialing. Student loan repayment for the beneficiary or a sibling for up to $10,000. That is a lifetime limit. And Roth IRAs, which I think I have a dedicated slide for, so we'll get to that in a minute. Or you can transfer any unused fund to a qualified family member as long as they're related to the original beneficiary by blood, marriage, or adoption. So that was a long list, but there it is. Paul, can you advance to the next slide, please? So I briefly mentioned Roth IRAs. The Secure Act of 2.0 of 2022 allows for tax-free and penalty-free rollovers from a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. So there is a few requirements that must be met for these to be considered qualified. The original Roth IRA Benny and the 529 beneficiary must be the same person. The 529 plan must have been opened for at least 15 years before rolling over to a Roth IRA. The funds that you're rolling need to be in the account at least 5 years before rolling to the Roth IRA. It needs to be a direct transfer, trustee to trustee. So the monies can't go to the account owner or the beneficiary. They need to go directly from the 529 plan to the Roth IRA trustee. The yearly Roth IRA contribution limits do apply, and there is a lifetime maximum of $35,000 to roll over from a 529 plan to a Roth IRA. So I know in Ohio we say, please be sure to consult your tax advisor if you have specific questions about 529 plan rollovers to a Roth IRA. My guess is other states probably have a similar language, but those are the 6 requirements for a rollover to a Roth. Next slide, please. So a lot of people ask, what happens if your child or your loved one gets a scholarship or grant and you've opened and you've saved money in a 529 plan? The good thing is most financial aid packages don't cover 100% of expenses. So you can use your 529 plan to make up for any shortfall you have in any related fees for whatever you're trying to save for, whether it's a higher education or something of that sort. Funds equal to the amount of a scholarship can be withdrawn without the 10% 529 penalty. The earnings portion will be taxed as normal income. And attendance at a U.S. military academy is treated as the same as a scholarship. So there's no 10% federal tax penalty. Next slide, please. So what if my child doesn't attend college? Well, as we talked about earlier, you can use it for K through 12. You can use it for apprenticeship or credentialing programs. You can use it for student loan repayment, transfer it over to a Roth IRA, leave the funds in your account for maybe a second career at some point later that you need training for. You can transfer all or a part of it to another family member. Again, it's as long as they're related to the original beneficiary by blood, marriage, or adoption, up to and including first cousins. It's permissible by the IRA, the Internal Revenue Code. And the last case scenario is you can withdraw the money and use it for anything other than a qualified expense. But just know that if you do that, you will pay a 10% federal tax penalty on the earnings. Next slide, please. So if your child doesn't go to school, just decides they don't want to retire, transfer money to an IRA, pay back any loans or anything like that, you can transfer it to a qualified member of your family. I know I've talked about blood marriage or adoption. So really that is a child, grandchild, siblings or their children, parents or grandparents, aunts, uncles, first cousins, in-laws, and any spouses of those members that I mentioned are able to be qualified family members. Again, I would recommend you check with your state where you want to open your 529 just to be sure that they are in alignment with the federal government on that. Next slide, please. So 529s and the effect on financial aid. So really there's no effect on scholarships, and there's a very minimal amount on financial aid. So on the next slide, I believe we have some specific data. So on your FAFSA form, parent-owned 529 plans are assessed at a maximum of 5.64%. So, the real quick math is with a $10,000 529 plan, only $564 would need to be counted against one's eligibility for need-based federal financial aid. Student accounts that are owned by the students are assessed at up to 20% of the value. And the good news is a few years ago, they changed the rules in FAFSA when they did the restructuring, and 529 plans owned by anybody else, including grandparents, do not count on the FAFSA. So that's really good news that has been changed in the last couple of years, that those don't need to be reported, either the account or the income when it's received. It does not need to be reported. So next slide, please. We always say in Ohio that you should check with your specific school on how 529 plans might affect your financial aid packet. A lot of schools have different rules, and it's just best to go directly to this school to check with them. As most people know, most aid comes in the forms of loans, not grants, which must be paid back. And some aid does come in the form of scholarship or grants that do not require a payback. Next slide, please. 529 plans really are available through what we like to say womb through retirement. In Ohio, it only takes $25 to start or add to a 529 CollegeAdvantage account. We like to encourage people to start early and take advantage of the power of compounding. You don't need a Social Security number to open an account. You can open the account in the account owner's name with the account owner listed as a beneficiary. And then when your loved one arrives or your adoption is final, you can then provide the Social Security number. The 529 accounts can be opened at any time to commemorate all of life's milestones. So I think on the next page, we have some important milestones that we like to encourage people to celebrate. So, when should you start your 529 plan? As I mentioned, yesterday is the best time to start it. You can celebrate a newborn. You can put more money in when your child or your beneficiary moves away from the diaper stage into potty training stage. You'll have some found revenue there. You can celebrate starting kindergarten with your loved ones. Middle and high school, it's not too late yet to start at that point. And really with the expanded use of 529 plans, you can still make contributions in high school and past high school for your adult learners to utilize the benefits, the tax benefits of a 529 plan. Next page, please. So let me tell you more about Ohio's 529 plan, CollegeAdvantage. We are one of the nation's top rated plans. We do offer two programs in the variable space, both a direct plan and advisor plan. We are the 7th largest state-sponsored 529 plan in the country. As I mentioned earlier, 49 states plus the District of Columbia have 529 plans out there. So please do check with your home state to see if there are any advantages for you to go with your home state. And if not, you can shop across the country, whatever appeals to your family and your family's goals. Ohio's 529 plan is administered by the Ohio Tuition Trust Authority. We are a standalone agency that is headquartered within the Department of Higher Education. So that is our reporting structure. We do have an 11-member board, the OTTA Investment Board, that is overseen by bipartisan membership of 11 individuals. We have 4 legislative members. 6 members are appointed by the boards and commissions in the state. And the Chancellor of Higher Education is an ex-official voting member of our board. And we have professional investment management by leading financial investment firms that help us manage and design the Ohio programs. Next page, please. So just a little bit further about the Ohio program. As I mentioned, we have a direct plan and an advisor plan. You can see there's no enrollment in a direct or advisor plan. There is no annual account maintenance fee for our direct plan. And if you're an Ohio resident, it is waived for our advisor plan. It's $25 to open and add to an account. With a caveat, in our direct plan, we do have savings and CD options that have a minimum $500 opening for a CD option. The FDIC insurance is good on our savings and CD options. Obviously, it does not apply to money market funds. Major providers of investment options in our direct plan is Vanguard and Dimensional Fund Advisors, along with Fifth Third Bank, who provides our banking options. And in our advisor plan, it is BlackRock, who has actively managed options as well as iShares. Obviously, with a direct plan, most states are not able to provide financial advice. We are able to use our tools that are available on our website to map out your personal goals. Our website is collegeadvantage.com. You can go to our tools and calculator page to help you determine where you would like to invest and how much you would like to invest. And then obviously through advisor plans, you can get financial advice through your financial advisor, and that's where all transactions are processed through the financial advisor. In our direct plan, your financial advisor, if you have one, an independent financial advisor, an RIA, you can give them explicit written permission to receive account information as long as the account owner grants that. And then obviously, in the advisor space, account owners do transact with those financial advisors. Next page, please. A lot of people will say, well, how do you start your plan? In Ohio, it's simple. I've mentioned the $25 start or add fee. You can save up to $19,000 annually per child before gift taxes apply. And I mentioned our website, collegeadvantage.com. Our tools and calculator providers will really help you out with trying to help guide you in your direct space. We are not allowed to provide financial advice in the direct space. Next slide. We also have an app on mobile devices, so you're able to open your application or your account on a mobile device, whether it be a tablet or your phone. In Ohio, we have about 693,000 customers as of March 31st, and you're welcome to visit collegeadvantage.com or call 1-800-AFFORD-IT if you have any questions. Next slide, please. Oh, there's the mobile app. So I mentioned that. Go to the mobile app, search it out there, look for your state that also is on the mobile app. Find out which state you do business with, and you can open accounts, you can make contributions and compare and see how you compare to other savers. You can look at your performance and make contributions and withdrawals from your phone at any time. Next slide, please. So a lot of people will ask, what about gifting? Ohio does have a gifting platform that you can find out more about on our website. We like to encourage people. It's graduation season, so a great time to give the gifts of education to the loved ones and the people that you're celebrating with, holidays or special occasions, and of course those births and birthdays. Next slide, please. With the gifting, you can contribute to an existing account online. You can open a 529 plan for somebody else, and we will send gift announcements if you want to do a gift card through us. We will send out a gift announcement. Next slide, please. Just about us, just a little bit more. Thank you for having me today. As of March 31st, 2026, I mentioned we are the seventh largest plan out there with about 693,000 customers that have trusted Ohio's 529 plan with almost $21 billion. All back to you.
Thank you so much. And as we had mentioned, we'll try to take some questions here and also at the end as well. We did have a question and this is perhaps more of a philosophical question, but is it ever too early or too late to open a 529 plan? It really, from my perspective, they've really transitioned from a one-time goal to a lifetime goal that can be transitioned to children and other families. But what's your perspective on, is it ever too late or early to open?
It really isn't on either side of the spectrum. I know that, we have grandkids and we've opened one for each one of our grandkids. And with the expanded use, going all the way through Roth IRA and, continuing education, apprenticeship, all that stuff, it really never is too late to stop saving in a 529. The ability to transfer it to other members of the family really makes it ideal to be able to just open them, identify your beneficiary, and continue to save throughout the lifetime.
Yep. And we did have a question for the list of qualified schools in the U.S., in Ohio, in the U.S., and abroad. I know for me, I studied abroad at University College London, and I was even looking at schools abroad for grad school. So it's and for you, Trisha, and the team, where is the colleges located, or where can they be used for a college or university perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So obviously, since we're centered in Ohio, we do have a big chunk of our distributions that go to Ohio schools, but we have, I think, 34,000 universities that we have sent payments to. So it really is all the way across the nation. And in some cases, it is abroad. You just need to check with your financial aid office to be sure that they accept a 529 plan.
Yep. We did have a question for where do you find the details on federally accredited institutions outside the U.S. But from my perspective, as I was taught, it's if the school or university has a financial aid FAFSA number, that it is it is on the list of schools that is allowed. So that's one of the key markers that I ask for whenever I take a look at it as well. But I do think it's an interesting question about the board. My wife Danielle, she's on a library board, and they rotate. So for the 11 people, is there do they rotate? Is there like a seating period? Just curious on the board element for that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So our executive board members that are appointed by boards and commissions serve rotating four-year terms. They can be reappointed. And for the legislative members, they serve two-year terms through the General Assembly that they're appointed through. They can be reappointed they can re-up after their terms expire, as long as the General Assembly is still obviously in the General Assembly, and the executive board, as long as they're interested in continuing their service to the state.
Sounds good. And I'll ask this question, now as opposed to at the end. I've been doing my own research about Ohio, and the Wright brothers are from Dayton, and Thomas Edison was born in Ohio. And do you want to provide a quick community update? You do a lot of great partnerships across the state of Ohio. So and do you have a quick update overview for all the different groups and teams and libraries that you are currently, partnering with?
Yeah, so in honor of 529 month and 529 day, we are launching on or around today sweepstakes with the Cleveland Guardians. It's a home run sweepstakes that's going to give away a $10,000 college savings award grand prize later this fall. We also have a partnership with the Toledo Mud Hens that is in market right now that is called the Home Run Readers with a $2,500 college savings award grand prize that will also be given away later this fall. We are launching several library summer reading programs, particularly in the Akron, Summit County area, the Dayton Metro Library area, Columbus Metro Library area, and the Toledo Mud Hens, as well as the Toledo Lucas County Public Libraries. I'll just add a little brief personal note. You mentioned Thomas Edison. He was born in Milan, Ohio, my hometown. So,
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, and it's great news about the summer reading programs. It's something my family really likes to take full advantage of, and of course, such a great day to come together and celebrate the 529 day. I asked my son, who's now 10, about what his thoughts about 529 day. He said it's his favorite day, second to Pi Day, so March 14th. So I feel like we're on a good track for there. And I'll take a quick look at the see if there's any other questions before we start moving into the second section as well. And then I guess I'll ask this quick question as well about the employer channel. Just from your perspective, the importance of the employer channel or the ability to connect automatic contributions, perhaps from your paycheck regularly to the 529 account. Do you have a quick update on the employer channel or?
yeah, we have a dedicated marketing rep that leads our employer channel efforts. In Ohio, it's a little different. It's not necessarily a payroll deduction, but we connect contributions directly to a savings or a checking account for employers. And we do try to build awareness through our employer connections that are out there. It's a great way to reach those account savers that generally have a lot of loved ones that they're wanting to save for. So that's kind of how we approach it in Ohio.
Sounds good. And on the employer channel, like I see all the great social media posts and photos about the employer events, and thank you so much for championing that perspective. So for those that are employers on this call, if you're interested in learning more, I'm sure Trisha has a team that can come in and do a presentation, or inversely, if you're an employee, perhaps it's a good conversation to have with your HR department as well. So. Thank you so much, Trisha.
Yeah, thank you.
And there's a lot of questions coming in, so I'll go through my section, try and leave 15 minutes to answer the questions as at the end. But of course, if we do run out of time, we will follow up with you after the webinar. So thank you so much. And broadly speaking, the goal of the 529 day is to increase awareness and understanding of 529 plans. And based on our annual surveys of parents, we have seen an increase in awareness and understanding of 529s. This chart, broadly shows amongst those that are not saving for education, their level of awareness and understanding of 529s, broadly increasing over time. And that's transitioned right into the overall increase of 529 account usage. There's almost 18 million accounts, currently open and funded across the entire US. So more awareness, with 529 day is leading to more accounts and usage and more people putting in more, contributions into 529 plans over time. So 529s have, been around for 30 years, and it's gaining traction and focus, and that is great. In terms of key developments overall, and this is much more of a storyboard perspective. And of course, for the specifics and details, I would actually point someone over to the IRS Publication 970, which provides the federal tax code and view, and also the plan disclosures. For example, Ohio 529 CollegeAdvantage has their own plan disclosure that provides specific rules, for their plan and state level of information. So those are the two sources of information. But lo and behold, from a storyboard perspective, what we've seen is that the expansion of 529 qualified expenses from a tool really used for college over to education and without the K through 12 tuition. But we've also seen the expansion of 529 qualified expenses, not just to K through 12 tuition, but also the tutoring, textbooks, SATs, especially for my kids who are reaching their teenage years, and to beyond. And also not just from college over to education, but also to career training as well. And by that, we're speaking to apprenticeships, credentials, and credential programs, and also to from education and career training, but also to retirement as well. Trisha had mentioned and discussed the ability to transfer over the assets in 529s over to Roth IRAs, and really also just the conversation about 529s being a tool for saving and paying for college, but also repaying as well. 529 qualified expenses can be used to repay student loans as well. So it's really going from a saving and paying vehicle to repaying vehicle as well, and also that lifelong learning conversation. Not just college being a 1 year, like a 4 year, one point in time type of vehicle, to a lifelong learning perspective. From that perspective, there's the CFA program, which I did right after my own undergrad. I studied for that for 4 years, and then evening graduate school programs as well. I went to the evening and MBA program at Boston College, for example. So at the time, I was not aware of 529s, and it wasn't a qualified expense, but now they are. So CFA programs and evening MBA programs are now qualified expenses. So really just going from just something that's used for college to K through 12 education, to apprenticeships, to credentials, to student loans, to Roth IRAs, and credentials and beyond. So it's really like a broadening of the qualified expenses of 529s is really going into the broadening demographics of 529s. Perhaps you're a parent that's on the line that always thought in their own mind that my child is not on the college track, that they are on the trades track. And so there's a broadening of usage amongst families for 529 plans that that could be used for apprenticeships and trades and vocational schools, and for that, general contractors, builders, creators, and beyond. My grandfather was a general contractor, so it's that this conversation is near and dear to my heart, and for me as well. My uncle Paul was a welder, so lo and behold, that 529s are something that can be used to help an even broader set of families. My mother's a nurse, so when we talk about credentials and credential programs, 529s can really help out those that are nurses and accountants and teachers. Teachers do typically need ongoing credential programs to stay qualified, as do accountants. Real estate has been broadly speaking a very popular topic nowadays. So to the extent that there's credentials needed for real estate, and those that are looking much more that real estate empire building, or maybe a small business creator as well. And within the financial community, there's the CFPs, the CFA, CPAs. So there's much more broader use for 529s overall. And then of course the lifelong learning, in today's just volatile market or economic environment, that perhaps people are looking to retool, upskill, pivot careers or accelerate their careers. So there's not just graduate school, but credentials and continuous training as well. I did some quick research, and of course I've been a friend of the Ohio team for many years, but Ohio is the fourth largest manufacturing sector in the U.S. So Ohio is a large manufacturing sector. So there's the ability to reskill and upskill, and there's also a lot of focus on the just productivity training, just helping to not just AI, but also all these different productivity tools that can be used. In Ohio, there's 1.1 million small businesses in Ohio, so there's many different ways to think about all the different ways to upskill, reskill. There is some concern around the impact of AI, but perhaps it's a great way to upskill, reskill, to play offense, play defense in the current market environment. But of course, there's degrees in these different productivity tools, and so there's a lot of opportunity there. But of course, there's the opportunity to for those that are looking to complete their own degree as well. Perhaps they start a family early, as did my father. So there's just ability for people to use 529s to go back to school to finish. And of course, there's the enhancing functionality that that is now capable with the increase in scale, with the broadening qualified expenses, broadening demographics to, just, the ability to have this greater scale to make the process easier and easy of use. MSRB, Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, on April 30th did release a request for comment that would be looking to basically modernize and simplify access to plan disclosures, basically speaking to pivot as an industry standard, like the physical documents being mailed over to access, being able to access electronically. So over time, as the industry grows and has been around for longer, that there's just, broadly speaking, that the ease of families being able to use 529s is increasing. Of course, Ohio 529 College Advantage, also has launched their 529 short course series. I personally think it's a great idea, and go in and click around, and then there's all these different modules that one can really click through to see oh, I want training on how can I use 529s for X or Y, or I'm in this scenario. So, have a look. There's a lot of planning tools there as well. There was the Ready Save mobile app and the UGIF functionality referred to as well that, broadly speaking, has allowed the access to more information, on the mobile app or just gifting. I myself, when I was younger, used to get the physical treasury, bonds with each and every holiday season. But now it's great that that one can use the 529 plans so much easier with the UGift and other ways. Reminders, tips, and best practices. One is just open account, start the process. For, as Trisha had mentioned, $25 minimum to start. When we look at our own data and research, and I've been in my role since 2010, just collecting this data for over the years, over the decades and so on. But, broadly speaking, the average account size has been $4,000 that people, wait a little bit longer to open it and start the account. So, broadly speaking, tips, reminders, best practices, my tip and thought would be to start earlier, closer to that minimum needed of $25 or much lower than waiting until you have, $4,000 to open that account. Start early, start often. And, that's as a quick side note and side story. I started out by just, in my own personal journey of something that's in a parallel story. I started to just go for a walk, every single day for 5 minutes. And this weekend, tomorrow, I was invited to go run at the Mohican Trail Run in Loudonville, Ohio. I opted not to. And of course, I used the excuse of the 529-day webinar to not go. But that being said, perhaps I'll be in my radar for next year. So start early, start with one step. And that step is to open an account. So once you get start, and of course, I am and right outside of Philadelphia, stop and start and don't stop, so that's one way to look at it. But, when by don't start, it really is automatic contributions. Based on our market data, it's $7 a day. And it really got me thinking, $7 a day. It actually, based on the fractional difference, in the rounding, works out to $48 a week, $206 a month. I was looking at the U.S. Fed report yesterday, and that's broadly speaking how much families are paying for daycare until they go to kindergarten. So, pivoting that money that was used for kindergarten over to 529 account, great opportunity. But, if one were to do that $7 a day over 18 years, that's $44,000 just on contributions alone, not market increase, or even recontributing the state tax deductions that you would get for putting the money in. And for, in Pennsylvania, that's over, well over a year of, tuition, and probably about a third of the cost, with at a Penn State, and of course in Ohio and all the different schools, it would be a material amount to have, 44,000, saved up over the course of 18 years just by doing $7 a day. And of course that automatic contributions, perhaps being put in from the your bank or brokerage account. 69% of those 18 million users, are putting in on contributions, from their bank accounts. 14% are coming in from the, their employer accounts that we had discussed earlier. And broadly speaking, 10% of employers are providing a match or contribution, for their accounts as well. But, continue make it a habit of putting the money in. Broadly speaking, people, different research has really pointed to saving 3%, from birth, or 5% of your take-home pay, from, if you wait until, kindergarten starts. But, just start with that $25 and putting in, $7 a day, or that 3% of your household income, will make the material difference. And of course, they add on, one-time boosts, like add on to that regular contributions. Of course, we're at graduation season. It is, in my household, having two kids in that middle school, grade school age range, it's Maycember, so it's a very busy, time of year with all the different concerts that are going on and presentations, not presentations, but just, concerts going on pretty much every single night. It is that graduation season. Other one-time contributions at the start of the new year. There's the gifts from family. There's the year-end, planning and tax planning. Nothing says happy holidays like tax planning, right? But of course, there's definitely different opportunities to, as money comes in, to be able to contribute, money into the 529 plan. Long story short, as a longer story or a shorter story, I overpaid a dental bill by $75, and 1 month later, I got a check for $75 from my dentist. And what I do, because I already counted that as spent money, lost money for for the dental bill, I put that right into the 529 account. So as different money just comes in, or tax refunds come in, there's definitely ways to add on to the goal of saving and paying for education. So there's definitely a lot of resources out there. Ohio 510 CollegeAdvantage for families, employers, advisors, and nonprofit organizations. There is the newsletter that they do have. They have a great team over there with Ben Gibbons and Amy and Judy over there, creating a great newsletters. Go to that website. There's sign up for the newsletter. It's good. It's very helpful. There's the 510 Explorer blog with a lot of different resources as well. From our perspective, we do a lot of different data and research as well. So for institutions, media, and beyond, we do an annual survey of parents, annual survey of advisors, and of course, there's the conference coming in Nashville for the Country Music Hall of Fame. Not as fun as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, but it will be a good time for sure. So I think we're over to questions and answers. I will take a look at the ones that have come in, and I don't know if you had a certain question that you had a good chance to look at Trisha, but I guess do you have I do have a separate question, but do you want to see if there's a question from the attendees that you want to answer, or?
Yeah, so I see a couple of people have asked about taking money out and timing. In Ohio, and I think this is the case nationwide, that the onus is really on the account owner to match up their expenses with the bill. So when you're taking the money out of the 529, you should match it up to the year in which the expense occurred. So hopefully that answers that question for people.
And Judy has a question about, do you have to be a resident of Ohio to open an account with your plans, Trisha?
Yeah, no, you don't. You do not need to be a resident. You only need to file a state of Ohio tax return to get the benefit from the state of Ohio. But you can be an Ohio resident and open a 529 account in any state and get the benefit.
Well, Trisha, as a father of two 529 beneficiaries, it is amazing where, you put the money into the 529 account, you get the state tax deduction, you take that state tax deduction, you put it in your 529 account, and then the following year you get another, check back. It's one of those great momentum builders that very, very low lift, that once you start, the momentum just keeps on rolling through. So it's a good perspective that I'd like to have.
And I will say there are some people that have questions about the Roth IRA. So that too is where the onus is on the account owner to provide the particulars about the usage and how long the funds have been in the account. The onus is on the account owner to prove that if they get the proverbial audit from the IRS.
I do see a question on off-campus housing, and of course, like during COVID, that was a very common question that did come in. Just broadly speaking, Trisha, how does your team answer or respond to living off campus? Or I guess there's also the meal plans as well.
Yeah, that is a really good question. You can check with your financial aid office to see what the registered cost is for room and board, and if you're in an off-site apartment or situation like that, I think you can use the 529 for off-site housing as well as the cost of food, as long as you are making sure that it doesn't exceed the cost of whatever is reported by the college or university that you're attending.
Very, very true. I mean, my understanding was the best practice was always to speak to with the college or university and ask them for the stated rate. Like some schools do have different rates for here's the on campus number, here's the off campus number for for the food and for the housing as well. So it's and of course that varies greatly. So it's a good point in perspective. Taking a look at the other questions as well.
See, somebody has asked about shifting from a single beneficiary alignment to more of a whole family. That is really dictated by the federal government, that it needs to be one account owner to one beneficiary. Fortunately, with the flexibility of being able to change your beneficiary really throughout the life of the program, it's pretty flexible in that if the particular beneficiary you set it up with decides that they've either used everything that they're going to use out of it, or they're not going to use it for any of the qualified expenses that we talked about, you can easily transfer that to another beneficiary of the family.
Got it. And I'll answer the question from Matt on just different scholarships and awards that would make a contribution to a 529 plan. Broadly speaking, just I my sense would be that you would want to talk to the library and just about about the contribution because it's that the library would know the sourcing or have the details on that element. So.
I see somebody's asked, they have a CollegeAdvantage account and they live in Ohio. If they were to move to another state, would they have to open an account there or just add to Ohio's? Well, we certainly encourage you to continue to add to Ohio's. However, you are not required to do that. You can open a 529 plan in any state, not the state of residence. Or if you move, you can continue to contribute to whatever plan you already have open, generally speaking.
That is true.
Whose daughter won a 529 from a library last year. He needs to call the 1-800.
Yeah, so somebody won a $529 award from a library. Just call our 1-800 Afford It number and we can help you out finding the information on that award. Similarly, the individual who had an account that either the account owner or the beneficiary had passed away, contact your 529 plan and they can walk you through the specifics of each state on how they handle that. So just go ahead and give your 529 plan a call.
Investments for one account, or do I have to have multiple accounts? Yeah.
Trisha, I'd be curious as people have questions, follow-up questions as well. What's the best way to, for people to get a hold of your team? I guess there's the blog online. There's also the call center, and I guess there's so many different ways that your team does, that your team is available to get questions answered. I guess how many people are in the call center? What's the call volume? imagine it's pretty high. But
Yeah, it depends on the time of day, the day of the week, and what's going on at year end. We're slammed with calls for everyone trying to get their tax deduction in for the year, their contribution in for the year. You can always call us at 1-800-AFFORD-IT. That's the easiest way to remember, 1-800-AFFORD-IT. Our call center is staffed here in Columbus, Ohio, Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. till 6 p.m. And we have a staff of about 12 people that answer our phones for our direct program and our legacy guaranteed program.
perfect. Well, I know personally that that's great because when you're working 9 to 5, it's like some businesses are only available 9 to 5, so it's nice that there's the half hour before, but also like the hour after as well. So that's great. For a question did come in about the ability to transfer the assets between different accounts, and broadly speaking, I would say from my own personal experience that it was pretty easy. I started out with one account for my daughter, and then subsequently my son arrived 4 years later. So it's I did the route of just splitting the assets and moving the assets over to the new account for my son, and just was very easy from that perspective. So with
Somebody's ask a
yeah.
question about transferring between account owners. Yes, you can transfer regardless of age. You can transfer between account owners as long as they meet the qualified definition of a qualified family member. So if it's between siblings, yes, you can transfer from one to the other.
And I believe someone asked earlier, if there was any cost associated with transferring. There's no cost, right, Trisha?
There is no cost. That's correct. No cost to transfer.
Yep. Take one last look to see if there's any other questions that jump to mind. And my final question would be, for you, Trisha, where do you see the industry going over the next 3 years? Like what big kind of shifts like do you see, does the board see from a big picture outlook perspective, things changing, industry changing, the plan changing, any from a big picture perspective, what do you see?
I mean, I think that we all need to be aware of AI and what's going on out there with the advancements that are being made. I think that there's a lot of still individuals out there that are not aware of 529 plans. And as an industry, I think we do a really good job of trying to reach out and making sure that everyone is understanding of what a 529 plan is and the benefits of it and the restrictions of it and the ability to transfer and use it for a number of different things. I think the federal government continues to look at it and expand the uses, which is to our credit. So yeah, I mean, the future is bright for 529 plans. I think that collectively as an industry, we've done a phenomenal job of getting awareness out there. It's an industry that's aging, so I think that we're turning to the next generation of savers. I know I have 2 kids that benefited from the program, got through their college of choice and their degree of choice and came out on the other side debt free. And as I mentioned earlier, we are now saving for their kids. So, it's just a matter of trying to make sure that we're out in every pocket of the state trying to talk about the benefits of a 529 plan and getting the word out there that it really is a good thing to save in, and there's not very much downfall to saving in advance and avoiding that student loan debt.
That's so true. And, well stated. I do believe it'll be, that the awareness will continue to grow. And as you said, that, one generation will go to the next in terms of just sort of raising that awareness and understanding. I wish I had known about it or used it for my own, grad school or credentials. And it's just as the expansion of qualified expenses go, so will the demographics, and, more people will use it, more people will save. It's been great to see, how things have transitioned over the past, 30 years. 529s have come a long way. And so it's great to see, 529s at 30 years, and looking forward to, of course, where we'll be in 3 years and 5 years and 10 years. And broadly speaking, it's just such a great product to see it help so many families, and for, families in Ohio with the, all the different, history of manufacturing. But as I look more into it, just how the 529s will be able to help families to, just like retool, upskill, and become much more, just improve that, efficiency of, production in the state of Ohio. So it helps, a lot of families, and it'll keep helping more families, and looking forward to the industry and that perspective. But Trisha, I do appreciate the time and insight your team has shared, and of course the questions we didn't get to, we'll be sure to follow up afterwards. And just appreciate all that you do. I hope you have a happy 529 day, and thank you so much for your time today.
So much, Paul. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.